All right, welcome back to Right on the Edge. And this video caught my attention. The Chronovisor, the Vatican's secret device to see through time. Um, what's that? Right? So let's watch this guy's video, the Y files, and let's figure it out.
Vatican City is an inspirational place. You don't need to be
Sort of.
Catholic or even religious to appreciate the architecture,
Okay, you know what? Fair.
the art, and the city's historical significance. But there is a place within the Vatican that's rarely seen. Hidden beneath the city is an underground fortress, inaccessible to the public and protected by armed guards and state-of-the-art security. The secret apostolic archive.
Hopefully, the secret security isn't a cage, but yeah, that's interesting.
Within the stone and steel reinforced walls are vaults, climate-controlled rooms, and over 50 miles of shelves. And on those shelves are countless texts, relics, and artifacts collected by the church for over 1,000 years.
That would be cool to see. I think that would just be cool to see. I hope these are like actual photos because that's so interesting.
And one of the most intriguing objects hidden in the archive is called the Chronovisor, a device that can view events anywhere and any time in history. And for years, its existence was just a rumor. No proof of the Chronovisor was ever found.
God, that's so vague. What is it? What is it? Also, that's a cute goldfish.
But a book released by a Vatican priest would change all that. Let's find out why. Pellegrino Ernetti was a scientist, world-class authority on music, and a scholar. He spoke several languages, he dabbled in electronics, physics, and
And he was a Catholic priest on top of all of that. That's crazy.
even the occult arts. He also happened to be a Benedictine monk. Now, whether by luck or by
A Benedictine monk, so not a priest. A monk? They have those? Interesting.
fate, Father Pellegrino Ernetti found himself in the company of Francois Brune, a priest from France, and they were sharing a ferry ride down the Grand Canal in Venice. The water was calm and the trip was long, so the men struck up a conversation. And they shared a love of languages, science,
Yeah, as you do when you're just there, right? Might as well say something, not be quiet.
and history, and they were discussing different interpretations of the Bible when Ernetti interrupted. "There's nothing to interpret," Ernetti said. "It's possible to see what actually happened, to see the truth with your own eyes." The Broom thought Ernetti was joking or being rhetorical. He wasn't. Ernetti spoke of a device he had worked on hidden in the deepest, most secret levels of the Vatican archive, a device that allowed its operator to witness events anywhere and any time in the past.
Uh, Without actual evidence, like obviously this is all hypothetical, but man, that'd be a cool device to have. That would be a fucking cool device to have. Yeah, but I doubt it. I doubt they have it. I doubt it's real, obviously.
And it was called the Chronovisor.
But it's a fucking great story.
A time machine?
Well, sort of. You can't travel anywhere with the Chronovisor, but you can program it to show you certain events on a screen, like a television.
Oh boy, you can stream anything these days.
Now, Francois
Hey, shut up, teeth fish.
Brune was stunned by the story. He knew Father Pellegrino Ernetti to be a serious man. Ernetti was well-read, well-educated, and well-respected in the church. He was not one for exaggeration. Yet Ernetti claimed to have
Not one for exaggeration, but come on, that's a little far-fetched, right? You think if the Catholic Church had this, I don't even know what you could do with that, but you know how much power that would be still.
heard speeches by Napoleon and Mussolini. He visited ancient Rome, and Ernetti was amazed that Cicero was as captivating a speaker as history claimed.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance. In this life or the next.
Cheers. Cheers, Fishy. Good job.
Are you not entertained?
I am.
I'm not. Anyway, Brune wanted to know about the events in the Bible. Did they really happen? "It's all true," Ernetti said. He had seen the final days of Jesus, including his crucifixion. He saw the creation of the Ten Commandments, the Last Supper, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and everything in the Bible. Now, Broom was obviously skeptical, even though Ernetti was
I mean, obviously skeptical. I would go one step further, and I would say I'm going to start to treat this dude like a crazy dude. Wow, that's nice. Oh, you saw it, you say. Dang. Wow. Shucks.
intelligent and talented,
You
he
know?
didn't have the skill and knowledge needed to build this kind of device. And Ernetti agreed that he couldn't build the Chronovisor himself. He had help. In 1952, Father Pellegrino Ernetti was working on a project at the Catholic University of Milan. And being an expert in early Christian music, he was studying and restoring recordings of Gregorian chants. And while
What are the odds? Hey, okay. What are the odds somebody locked themselves outside? Ignore nerds. That's my number one thing. Ignore nerds. All right. Might be redoing a couple minutes here, but I had to pause to let my brother in, and then I kind of forgot where we're at. So if it goes back a little bit, my bad, guys. I kind of forgot where we were, and the video was left on. My apologies, but I think we're somewhere right around here.
price of shoe wax. Gemelli's father was a cobbler who made and sold shoes. And Gemelli thought he'd been given a gift from God. But Ernetti wondered
I don't remember if I said this, but if you were going to hear a recording of your parent and it was from the past, it would be like this, you know? It would be something that is mundane, right? You would be hearing them be like, Luke, don't join the dark side, or nothing like that.
if there was a scientific reason for this, that the sights and sounds of people in the past somehow continued to exist long after they happened. And if they did, could they be detected?
That sounds like EVPs.
Well, it does. And this technology is not that
EVP.
different from what we now call
What's EVPs, like electronic voice partitions or something?
EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena.
Phenomenon. That's a much simpler solution than what I was thinking.
And since Gemelli was president of the Pontifical
No, I also don't believe in EVPs. I'm just going full disclosure. Don't believe in EVPs. I think there's too many environmental things that can affect them, including, like, you know, the sun, right? And the machines are like designed to try to put those together into a semblance of a language, so it could be absolutely nothing.
Academy of Sciences, he was able to fund a project to explore the possibility of listening or seeing events from the past. Ernetti assembled a team of 12
I think that's a fantastic theory to explore and super interesting. I just don't believe it's real.
scientists, but he would only reveal the names of two. And one was Enrico Fermi, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist known for Fermi's paradox and for creating the world's first nuclear reactor. The other scientist was Nazi rocket scientist.
Hold up. What is Fermi's paradox? So Fermi's paradox is the contradiction between a high probability that extraterrestrial life exists, given the vastness of the universe, and the lack of any contact or evidence of that.
Turned director of NASA,
That's a fair paradox, I think.
Werner von Braun. Like sound waves can be pressed into vinyl to produce a recording, Ernetti said that his team had discovered that light and sound continue to exist as forms of energy. And using a series of antennas, the Chronovisor
Probably based on the fact that energy can only be created and never destroyed, sort of thing. But it does break down.
could detect this residual electromagnetic radiation and translate it into image and sound. Operators of the Chronovisor could designate a specific date
That's a cool piece of art. Don't know where the art came from, but that's neat.
and location, then the scene was reconstructed on a large cathode ray tube. Now, Francois Brune was obviously amazed by the story and asked Ernetti what happened to the device. Ernetti said that once the team realized what they had invented, they brought their discovery to the Pope.
See, this is where I don't believe it. Like, why on earth would they bring it to the Pope? Like, if they invented a device that could see into the past, like, why would they bring it to the Pope? Every normal person, like, every normal human would take that to go and find, I don't know, Blackbeard's treasure or some shit.
And since the Chronovisor can tune into any place and time in the past, it could be used as a powerful weapon.
Or all those paintings the Nazis stole, you know? Like, they wouldn't just give it to the Pope. That's not like a normal human reaction.
It could reveal state secrets or be used for blackmail. So Pope Pius XII worried that, in the wrong hands, the Chronovisor could launch a dictatorship unlike anything the world had ever seen. The Pope ordered the machine dismantled and forbid anyone from speaking of it.
Pope Pius XII, huh?
Ernetti said this was the first he's spoken of it in over 10 years. And Brune understood and agreed that a machine like the Chronovisor would be extremely dangerous, and it was probably best if it stayed hidden and dismantled. But Brune said to Ernetti, it's too bad there's no proof that the Chronovisor
Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice if there were proof,
actually
but
worked.
I just doubt it's real.
Ernetti said to Brune, my friend, I have proof. Quintus Ennius was a writer and poet who lived during the Roman Republic between 239 and 169 BC. He's often considered the father of Roman poetry. And during his lifetime, he wrote about 20 plays and an epic poem on the history of Rome called the Annals, but only a few fragments of his work survive. His final play, Thyestes, was produced shortly before his death in 169 BC, and scholars have wondered about this play for centuries. They knew the story was based on the writing of another author, Seneca, but the actual text of Thyestes
So he had a play based on someone else's work. Do you know what the original work was?
except for a few lines, has been lost to history. Ernetti used the Chronovisor to visit Rome.
Let me look that up. What lines from the play Thyestes still exist? No. What lines from the play Thyestes still exist? It's just getting Estes. The existing lines from Seneca's Thyestes is a Roman tragedy that has survived in its entirety. It consists of approximately 1,112 lines. The lines and passages of the play still exist include those spoken by Tantalus, a ghost, expressing frustration about being drawn from hell and foretelling his descendants' crimes. Atreus, commenting on the power of a king and the desire for a culprit to beg for death. Thyestes, reflecting on the fears associated with power and the blessing of a simple life and the danger and luxury. Chorus, remarking on the fleeting nature of both pleasure and pain and the exchange between high and low fortunes. The entire play's narrative, including description of events like Atreus' revenge, the messenger's account, and the concluding scenes, is preserved in existing text. Huh. So it seems like there's a lot of stuff from that plays that still exists.
In 169 BC, where
Unless it's only this guy's version of it that doesn't exist, and the original play is fine.
he saw a performance of the play in a Roman square. Ernetti, fluent in Latin, was able to transcribe and finally complete Ennius's play after 2,000 years. And that manuscript
That's a big, supposedly.
still exists. The story of the Chronovisor remained hidden for another 12 years or so. Then in 1972, an article appeared in the Italian magazine La Domenica del Corriere.
Show off.
The headline of the article was "A Machine
That's crazy that there's actually a headline and stuff. This is probably the only form of evidence I've seen so far that's legitimate.
That photographs
But it almost seems like it's based on the same story.
the past has finally been invented. And some believe that the Chronovisor was not dismantled, but was actually functional and being used by the church to maintain watch and control of the population.
The church would do that. Me and this fish are about to agree, I think.
Theory makes sense.
Oh, you believe that one, huh?
Yeah, I
Does
believe
the
that
Pope
one.
in the woods?
Yep.
Soon, several photos were leaked, including this one taken by Ernetti himself. Ernetti used the Chronovisor to view Jesus' entire final day,
That looks like it could be a statue or something.
including his crucifixion. My favorite photo is this one, which shows Jesus walking and talking with his followers.
I mean, that's like an old camera. That could just be from anywhere. That could even be like art or something.
And this photo is also pretty
This looks like a scene from a movie. Not gonna lie, man. And you could probably see that same scene on a movie somewhere.
compelling. But again, the Chronovisor fell out of the public eye.
Or the information was suppressed by the church.
Or that.
Yeah, or
Well, then in
that.
2002, Francois Brune released his book called The New Mystery of the Vatican, which documents his relationship with Ernetti and includes more details of what Ernetti saw with the Chronovisor, and even includes blueprints for the machine. And Father
I mean, it's very interesting that he went on his life claiming this existed. I mean, he could have done it just to live well. Like, let's be honest. Let's not say that this guy was above doing it for money. But he was well respected according to this video and according to, you know, the resources within, like what we have access to, right? I'm not gonna look it up. But maybe I mean I could look it up. No, I won't look it up. But let's just say it's with great claims, you need great evidence, right?
Pellegrino Ernetti passed away in 1994.
Yeah.
But until his dying day, he swore the Chronovisor was real. He even published an open letter saying so. Father Francois Brune passed away in 2019, and during his life, he published multiple books and papers on theology and its relationship to quantum physics.
So both of these people were pretty well respected, you know, until their death. And authors, and you know, these are what would be considered credible sources.
He gave talks on EVP phenomena, communicating with spirits, and many different aspects of parapsychology. He too, until his last day, believed the Chronovisor existed and possibly still exists today.
The thing is, if something like that did exist, I really doubt that the church or governments or anyone really would destroy it, regardless of if destroying it would be the arguably right move. They just wouldn't destroy it. It's too much power to destroy.
Two highly regarded and well-respected clergymen insisted that the Vatican is in possession of the most important, most advanced, and most dangerous scientific invention ever created. The Vatican denies this claim as fantasy. So, who's telling the truth?
Who indeed?
The Chronovisor is a story that bothers me. On one hand, there are a lot of details that
Yeah, I think I know what this guy's saying. It bothers me too because there are credible people here, historically speaking, who've written several books and seem to be credible even in their fields, telling you that this exists. And there seems to be like some evidence leaning towards it existing. I'm not gonna believe the photos or anything. The news article is interesting, but let's just say that there seems to be evidence. Maybe, right? It's like kind of like it's like it could exist, but all that evidence is very shaky.
are easily debunked. But on the other hand, the story comes from credible sources. Father Pellegrino Ernetti was well known and highly respected by his peers. He spent most of his life researching, teaching, and writing, and his books are highly regarded. Father Francois Brune is also well known and respected. So why would these men of such high esteem risk their reputations on a lie of this magnitude?
I will say money. I'll claim money, but that's the only one I can think of.
What was there to gain? Their entire lives, both men said this device existed and possibly still exists. But the legend of the Chronovisor does have a few problems. First, anyone who can confirm that it existed in the first place is dead. When the story first emerged, Fermi had been gone a long time, and von Braun, while still alive, never mentioned it.
Von Braun had a lot of secrets, though.
He sure did.
I don't know anything about him, but I'll take your word for it. So, a secretive guy.
And it's fair to point out that both Fermi and von Braun worked on multiple top-secret projects during and after the war. Now, the photos associated with the Chronovisor are fake. The crucifixion photo is actually a picture
I figured as much. I figured that this part would be fake.
of a statue from a church in central Italy. And the sculptor was Lorenzo Valera, a relatively famous Spanish artist who created the statue shortly before his death in 1931.
It looks identical, and with the age of that photo, right, the missing like small details is understandable.
When confronted about this, Brun said Valera took inspiration from a nun who had seen a vision of the crucifixion, and that's why the statue is so similar to the photo taken from the Chronovisor. But to me, they don't look similar, they look identical.
Yeah, it'd be hard to sell me that those aren't just the same picture.
But Father Brun said the photo was real. And there are other photos associated with the Chronovisor, but these became attached to the story over the years. They don't come from Ernetti. This one is sometimes attributed to the Chronovisor, but it shows up in other urban legends as well. It's a photograph, but not one taken through a time machine. It's a photo of a painting by German artist Johannes Raphael Vela.
That checks out. That checks out.
It's called Jesus Among the Wheat Fields and was painted around the year 1900. And this photo is another that's become attached to the
Is this one a movie? I think it's a movie, but it could be in our painting.
Chronovisor. This is a photograph of a painting by Eugene Bernand called Peter and John Running to the Tomb, dated 1898. So what of Ernetti's transcription of Thyestes? Well, it doesn't hold up. Ernetti had written about 150 lines, which he said was the complete play, but experts are
Doubt it.
pretty sure the play would have been much longer than that.
Of course it would have been longer than 150 lines because they have to describe the scenes and how people are dressed and what season it is, right? So when you're writing a play, you're writing the environment of the play as well.
Probably 1,000 lines or more, and linguists aren't impressed with the transcription. Scholars have said the Latin is clumsy and uses words that wouldn't appear in the language for at least 200 years, so whoever wrote it wasn't a native speaker.
I mean, it wasn't his first language, but 200 years, though, is a long time. But I will say that sometimes plays and stuff like that use more flowery language that wouldn't have been common at the time, but could have wormed their way into society.
1994, just after Ernetti's death, a letter was published by someone who claimed to be a distant relative of his, but wanted to remain anonymous. This person said that on Ernetti's deathbed, he confessed that the photo and his writing of Thyestes.
I will say there's always these peripheral people that come out after somebody has died, and sometimes they're family, sometimes they're not family, but there's always these people around them that will come out to try to like milk the fame a little bit or call him a liar, and I just don't believe those people. Whether they're right or wrong, I never believe them. Grain of salt.
Were fake, and that Enrico Fermi had nothing to do with the machine, but he still claimed the Chronovisor was real. Then another distant relative said Ernetti made the whole story up to get more people interested in the church.
I don't trust when distant relatives suddenly crawl out of the woodwork.
You're right, Fish.
Well, Father Francois Brun didn't trust them either. He insisted that the Chronovisor was real, and if Ernetti could...
And I will say this. Here's the two sides of this coin. The fair argument, the not fair argument. Fair argument is that I wouldn't trust them either. Right? Especially if it was my life's work and they're talking about it could disrupt my life's work. However, I also don't trust this guy. Right? So this flip side of that is I don't trust this guy either because he could be doing it to maintain his status, fame, and the wealth gained through these books.
Confessed it was because he was coerced to do so by the church.
Now that I believe.
Well, that brings up an interesting side note. Now, obviously, the Catholic Church said the Chronovisor wasn't real. But in 1988, the church issued a strange decree that said if anyone was caught using a machine like the Chronovisor, they would immediately be excommunicated.
Why would they make that rule? Why would they make that rule if it doesn't exist? Right? Like, if it doesn't exist, why even make that rule?
So if the chronovisor is fake, why bother releasing a statement like that at all? When I first heard the
In 1988, too. Do you think maybe the guy that was in charge there was just a jokester?
story of the chronovisor, it was one that I desperately wanted to be true. And many people believe it is true. Believers say the church keeps the chronovisor a secret, but does use it occasionally to influence world events. And that's something to think about. If the technology exists that allows someone to view anyone, anywhere, and at any time in history,
I'm gonna stop here, right? You can finish off his video if you like to. I'm gonna have a link to it as always in the description below. Um, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know what you could do being able to see the past. I guess you could see the recent past, which could definitely do something. But I'm not smart enough to know what you could do with it to cause a whole bunch of problems. But I am pretty sure this probably doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And that's just me. But if you like this, if you like the, like the story of the Chronovisor and you want to hear more like it, give me a like and subscribe and leave a comment below. That way, I can react to what you'd like me to react to next time. And on that note, I will like and subscribe this guy, turn on his notifications. That way I can see more of this dude's work. And his goldfish that actually I was tricked into believing was a real goldfish for a second until I saw his teeth. And on that note, guys, I hope to see you next time. And yeah, thanks for watching this with me.